to discussing about very interesting point. And when I'm working with the real-time project, and I got this type of like kind of validate the things and get the requirement and what exactly this is a one means. First I will tell you that scenario. Generally, this project for migrating from on-premises to Azure platform, especially SAP servers. SAP servers and especially SAP HANA and ASCS ECS servers needs to be migrated. Especially I'm talking about those things. Why especially I'm talking about those servers means generally HANA database is a very critical and backend the database should be high available. High available means and always one virtual machine is down, still another virtual machine through that should be provide the same services. So generally we'll do the clustering. Okay, well and good. And so now clustering means generally in Azure platform, the two virtual machines it's going to deploy for high availability means there are two options is available. One is a availability set, another one availability zone. Now when we are migrating, availability zone is a more high availability provided to us. So that's the reason we choose the availability zone. Well and good. Now on that region, three zones is available. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3 like that. Now requirement is a deploy the two virtual machines for SAP HANA. In which zones we need to deploy it? Simply everyone say zone 1, zone 2 or zone 1, zone 3 or zone 2, zone 3 we can deploy it. But here problem is SAP, it's like latency front end to back end and database is a needs to be provide the services to the front end very minimal latency. If it is a light latency is high, if it is a little bit latency is high and it won't work properly. That means won't work means it won't provide the proper and performance issue and a lot of things. Business logic wise, it won't work properly. So even Microsoft and they provide the one of the thing network latency test within Azure availability zones. Within the Azure availability zone purpose, they given the one validation test. So how we can validate it within the availability zone this network latency. So if you refer, this is a Microsoft documentation, especially for SAP workload scenarios. Use Azure to host and run SAP workload scenarios. Under this document, if you go to high availability Azure VM, on left side, if you observe, this is a high availability Azure virtual machine. And if you click on under that, again, you need to select the Azure availability zone for SAP workload. Click on that one. And now if you scroll down in this documentation and you can refer here network latency between and within the zones. So within the zones, within the one region, three zones and validating the network latency so that based upon what we are going to getting the output accordingly, we can choose a right two zones so that we can minimize the latency. So we can provide the best services to our SAP workloads. So that's the reason before going to deploy clustering, SAP workload clustering, first of all, we need to test it availability zone latency test. So how to test it? So Microsoft given this is a like you can observe it's a blue highlighted this one availability zone latency test. If you click on that latency test, it will route to the GitHub repository. In this GitHub repository, you can refer availability zone latency test. So how to check it this latency test? They clearly given requirements. It's a Azure subscription and in the Azure subscription, especially core quota. That means CPU cores. quota should be available, and it's a, you can see this is a VM size is going to deploy, or more than big size is going to deploy, and least 24 cores is a required to recommended to deploy and tested the network latency. And that means each zone one virtual machine. Totally three virtual machine is going to deploy it. Zone one, zone two, second, and zone three, third virtual machine needs to be deployed. And after that, testing the latency. How to test it, that latency also, we'll look into that. So here you can see possibility to connect the VMs using the SSH, public IP address, or existing VNAT within the private IP address range, and PowerShell 7.1 or newer version, and PowerShell module POSH-SSH 3.0 module and AZ module. That means Azure module should be installed. After that, here you can refer, there are two types of tool is available. One is a Microsoft is a providing QPref. That means performance related. Microsoft providing this tool, this script for testing. Otherwise, nipping. This is a SAP tool is available. Using any one of the tool, we can test it that latency between the three zones as well as bandwidth also it's going to validate it, guys. Accordingly, we can choose the right zones and deploy the virtual missions on that. So for that, you can see it's a, we require the one PowerShell script if you are going to use the Microsoft QPref. Okay, and where is that script? Above, if you scroll up and you can see this is a script, guys, PowerShell script. If you click on, and you can refer, this is a PowerShell script, clearly they given. No need to modify under this anything. Automatically it will deploy and automatically tested, and it will give the output also automatically. This is a PowerShell script, guys. Totally is given by Microsoft. Go back and scroll down, and you can see like this is a sample output we can refer, and this output we can get it, guys. This output we can get it. So exactly, first is a latency, after that bandwidth, and the bandwidth megabytes per second, and latency micro or seconds is a wise is going to validated. So totally three zones is going to validated. If it is a nipping tool, how to do it? It's a nipping tool wise also. Microsoft saying that if you want use the nipping, please provide the URL example blob storage, which provides the direct access to nipping executable. The output Q perform and nipping is the same. So what they are saying, if it is a, any one of the tool, if you use it, it's the same output you will get it. But if you want use it nipping only, yes, first you need to upload this nipping tool under blob storage and provide the access that URL, and you need to run this way. That script you need to run like this way, so that exactly you will get the output, and accordingly based on output we can refer and choose the right zones. So that's way it's we can right zones we can select it and deploy the our SAP workload VMs when you are going to deploy high availability purpose SAP HANA, NetWare or something, any application, and must and should before that we need to validate it. And if you have different subscription, different regions, different things, yes, each and every subscription differently is available. Each and every region differently is available, guys. It's a not all regions same like that, not like that. Okay, it's not like that, guys. And please validate it before that and try to check it the output. After that, you can finalize which zone is a better, and after that you can deploy it, so you can minimize the problems. Otherwise definitely will get the different problems, and it's not easy to troubleshoot it and everything. Even if it is simply we deploy, and SAP team definitely they are going to validate it. And if it is they are not aware before it's a deploying, if you are not aware, definitely they will going to validate it anytime. And when they are getting the performance issue, SAP recommended use the nipping tool and validate the performance. That latency, sorry, performance means latency and bandwidth. This is a totally, guys, how to like validate the network latency between within the region, all availability zones. That's it, guys. Thank you.